This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast
with Tony Bruschi.
We are joined right now by retired FBI Special Agent, Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, and Hidden Killers contributor, Robin Dreeke. Robin, welcome. We are talking Bryan Kohberger on this segment. Stay in the trial now for 37 days is what they are looking at. The judge saying that this is not going to affect anything in this, including the start date of the trial. But if it would, at most, they're saying it would push it back simply the 37 days if they say that they need the more time beyond that. What's your thoughts on this? They're saying they need the extra time to take a look at some of the information from the grand jury, and they still need to come up with their alibi. Are they just trying to get any moment of time they can get whenever there's an opening for it?
Yeah, I think they're doing just that. I also think, like we've said before, I think they're going to really comb through everything they possibly can, as a good defense attorney should, so they can bring any shred of doubt they can, especially when, he's being put on trial for his life. Yeah. And when you're doing that, you're going to look for any shred of doubt you can sow in any juror's mind. And so that's what they're doing. I think they're just doing due diligence, all they can to give anything they can to add a shred of doubt in anyone's mind. That's all they have to do. It's a higher bar, I think, for the prosecution, but I think they're righteous in doing so because that's what the families agreed upon.
Are they looking at the entire general public of Moscow, Idaho, now as potential jurors, where a lot of times, okay, we're going to sway the jury while, we know who the impaneled jury is. Right now, we have no idea who that's going to be yet. Obviously, jury selection's not going to start until very close to the trial. But because there's only so many people there, is it very much kind of turning into a show at this point of sowing seeds of doubt into the mind of the general public, so they have essentially a jury pool that's going to be more apt to possibly being open to other options than just Kohberger being the one who would have allegedly committed this?
Yeah, as you know, I'm not an expert on juries or prosecution and defense, but on human behavior, yeah, that's exactly what I'd be doing. And I don't know how far that jury pool is going to extend. It's a federal case. And even in my own area in Virginia here, I get called to federal jury duty a long way away. I'm down here in the Quantico, Fredericksburg area, and I just literally had jury duty assigning me up in Alexandria at the court up there. So they might be able to spread those tendrils pretty long, depending on how they sit the jury. So, but again, since this is it's such a small town, it was so well known, I think it would be hard pressed to find anyone that's not influenced and biased in any way towards it. That's why I think the defense is doing all they can to even do the leakage they're doing now before jury even sits and say, hey, look, we got a little something here. We got a little something here. Whether they even have something or not doesn't matter, because it's kind of planting those seeds of doubt. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
It is. I can see trying to plant the seeds of doubt. It's just when you look at the seed packet, it's like there's no seeds in the packet.
That's a great analogy. I'm sorry to be laughing at such a serious thing, but yeah, it's a great analogy. Planting seeds, but the seed pack is pretty dang empty. But hey, that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to scrounge the bottom of that old packet as much as they can. Because when you have nothing, you gotta make hay with something.
Well, I guess it's kind of be the question I think we'll end this on is, let's do a thought experiment, as you like to do.
I love those.
Let's put yourself, you're someone who, it doesn't maybe necessarily know the case that well. Could be a potential juror if you were there. And you're being presented the evidence, and obviously the way it is presented, and sometimes the order it is presented can make an influence on how you're going to perceive it. Do you see any path when you look at this extremely objectively of how one would look at the evidence in this case and go, yeah, I think it might be somebody else? I just haven't seen it yet. But again, I've been so close to all of this, and every day seeing the damning thing, one after damning thing. And I know you have too. But do you see anything in here where it goes, yeah, I think we got a lot of questionable doubt here in Kohberger being the one?
So in my optic, no, but I'm not the one sitting on the jury. And more importantly, I'm not the one sitting on the jury getting the instructions from the judge on what you can watch, what you can do, how you regard the evidence presented, because that's going to play a lot into this. Whether they demolish that house or not, as we, mentioned that might happen, being able to, whether you're the prosecution or defense, being able to walk people through that place is going to be impactful on a jury if they do decide to do something like that. So all these things, I've sat on juries where I had a confirmation bias that from everything that was presented, that this person was guilty. Hands down, I thought they were guilty, but the way that the judge read the instructions, and I'm a rules, process, and procedures guy, I couldn't go along with exactly what I thought I wanted to, but because I'm following jury instructions. And so all they need is one person to think that way, and they got that little shred of doubt in there. So I'm never the 100% guy, because every human being that sits on a jury is completely different. So, and that's why these people get paid the big bucks, I guess. But I'm with you. The evidence seems to be extremely compelling, overwhelming, and I hope it goes that way. I want the families to feel, as much as they can, some sense of justice and being able to move forward.
I'm all about hearing exonerating if it exists, but that doesn't seem to have come to light. At least
I don't see that anywhere.
Unless there's something magical behind the curtain. But
and thank we've said this before too. Thank goodness for his, if it is him, thank goodness for his lack of reps and mastery of doing what he did, leaving a knife sheath behind with his DNA. Thank gosh. I think that ultimately will be probably the biggest thing they have, and obviously a lot of things that we're not seeing that the prosecution is collecting. I think a lot of cell phone data is going to be very relevant to this. I think social media is going to be very relevant to this. And I also think, as we've talked before, I think his arc of his life is also going to be very relevant to this. His behavior and his mental issues that he's had throughout his life is also going to be relevant to this. If that's admissible, there's a lot of times they don't allow that in. But I think this is a culmination of a pattern of behavior as we're seeing from this optic of his life. We'll see.
You're consuming the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts, and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member, exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast, dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.